Hello, guys. Hi. Hopefully you can hear me, you can see me. Just if I get any confirmation that from a technical standpoint we are fine, we are going to kick off. Okay, I think that we are good. Adam Bernas, hi again. Welcome in our weekly session, CoffeeNOW. And for today, we have a CSDM lessons learned from the projects. So for those of you who participated or seen the last episode, we were introducing CSDM concept, which was more like theoretical, descriptive part of the idea for CSDM. Today, we would like to, or I would like to tell you a little bit about the experiences, lessons learned from what we were achieving, from what we were doing with our customers when it comes to common service data model projects or engagements. Last week there was I had a little bit of let's say technical issues when it comes to questions. For today, I've double checked. I'm ready to be more interactive when it comes to the questions from your end. I was later on after the session replying through the LinkedIn, but today I can see that everything works fine. So whenever you have comments, questions, just shoot. And let's go. Let's kick off the actual presentation and things that I would like to share with you today, as we only have half an hour planned. Okay, guys. So let me just share the presentation. Exactly, that's the part 2 of our CSDM topic. Again, last week I was providing you some generic information, and as you probably know, there is really a lot of great content, great stuff when it comes to CSDM. The sources that ServiceNow offers to us, it's like almost unlimited content where you can read, when you can look for when you can look for the information, the descriptions, right? And I was providing some of them to you. So just as a quick summary, quick recap, I would like to highlight what a common service data model is and what it is not, right? So it's not a final solution. So when you think about CSDM, it's not a process or an implementation guide for the products that you will find in the platform, right? So ITSM, SPM, other products will benefit, and you will get way more value when the CSDM is deployed. But again, it's not an implementation guide for those products. It's not a code to install, right? So with every release right now, common service data model is there ready and waiting for you. It's not a product as such in terms of SKU, which means you don't need to pay additional you don't need additional licenses, right? You don't need to pay for CSDM in addition to the licenses that you have. So that's really important information. It's there in the platform, ready for you to use this, right? And it's not an automatic fix for past implementations, which means that you need to roll this out, you need to implement, you need to set up things in order to have CMD, Common Service Data Model, in place, right? There are a lot of scripts, a lot of tools that will help you to put a proper data to proper tables, to introduce correct relations and mappings between the data. But of course, it will require preparation. It will require, let's say, defined approach to achieve a value, achieve a specific stage of your common service data model setup. It is a framework. Think about this as a framework. How I like to define common service data model, that this is basically a description, a definition of digital products and services that you own and you deliver to your customers, right? So within the materials, within the setup, you will find standard terms of and definitions. You will find the best practices for CMDB data modeling, right? There are out-of-the-box tables, out-of-the-box data model, and recommended mappings plus recommended types of relations that you should utilize to connect the data between each other, right? So this is in general what common service data model is. Okay, and I can see that questions are popping in. Thank you, Phil. The coffee is right over here. That's the third one today. So the day started really early. But yeah, good point. Coffee is here, and for those of you who also have it, please enjoy. And yeah, let's go quickly to the second summary of our CSDM, the recent version, the version number 4.0. And I was again mentioning about this, right? But please remember about those 5 domains that we have when it comes to modeling our data, right? At the bottom of the picture, sorry, we have a foundation data. So company structure, users, groups, locations, things like this, right? We really need this to move forward. And I will elaborate a little bit in a moment. But foundation data, this is what you really have to secure in order to, get the visibility, be able to report, be able to understand how the rest work together, right? And then we have the 4 additional domains: design, when business capabilities and business applications are placed, right? So that's the domain when you will start to provide information about capabilities, about your business applications. You should do it with your enterprise architects, right? You should provide information, what are our org capabilities, what are our business applications, what are we using them for, and so on and so forth. And by the way, for business applications, there is really a great solution in the platform. For those of you who didn't seen this before, application portfolio management, that's the product to secure this particular piece of our CSDM. And then you can see the connection to the build domain, right? So SDLC component. So basically, for those of you who will develop your applications, who will build additional capabilities to your business applications, this is the layer, this is the domain that should be utilized by you to secure this kind of information. And this orange and green domains, right? So managing services, so how you are building and maintaining them. So technical services, their offerings, application services, and an entire infrastructure that is responsible to deliver application service. This is what we will find within the managed technical service domain. And the green one, information about how those services are sold, right? How you are offering those services to your users. And this is a place where we will be defining the business services, we will be defining their offerings. We can organize them within a portfolio or portfolios, right? And we can expose those service offerings through service catalog, so that our business consumer or our technology consumer can request for a specific value, for a specific functionality, right? And what is really important, and we've been asked quite often about application services, right? How we should think about this. What is it actually? Application services, how I like to explain this, these are environments, right, of business applications. So you can see this connection over here. And when you think about business application, for example, ServiceNow, right, that can be a good one for this example. So business application ServiceNow comprises of several application services, comprises of several environments. So you can think of a ServiceNow production instance, ServiceNow test instance, development instance, and so on and so forth. And each of those instances, each of those environments, they require specific set of infrastructure to deliver the value, to be online and available to be utilized, right? So this is the high-level overview of how the model looks like. And what I've also prepared is a example of a SAP platform. And if you will map those blocks to what we've been discussing a while ago, right? You can think about our business capabilities, which may be a SAP hosting environment or our logistic capability. And as you can see, this is connected through relations with a specific suggested type, right, to business applications. So to deliver or provide, right, a logistic capability, we have business applications like SAP ERP or SAP manufacturing. To provide the IT sub-hosting management capability, we have SAP platform as such, and there is this mapping to application services, so SAP host production instance, and entire service technology services and their offerings that are used to provide this application service, plus infrastructure that is used to provide that service. If you will look at this part of an example, there is SAP Manufacturing Business App, right, which is consuming our SAP Manufacturing production environment, production instance, and our business service manufacturing management, which is offered within two, let's say, offerings, inventory management and product line statuses. They both use this particular application service. This is quite a nice example. Of course, there are many different that are available that you can review to, let's say, get some inspiration, get some understanding of how those maps can be constructed. But okay, that's when it comes to defining common service model as such. What I would like to follow with are 5, let's say, most important takeaways, most important lessons learned that, from my perspective, we came across throughout working with CSDM implementation. The first thing is about master data. So the bottom domain, which can be called as or treated as a master data. And this, guys, this is a crucial thing, right? Throughout many of implementations that we came across, the customer was telling to us, okay, I want to define business services, I want to define technical services. But when we started to investigate, when we started to ask questions, when we started to audit the quality of the data that are those foundation data, quite often we are facing a situation where that really needs to be improved before we can go further with, for example, technical services or business services, right? And basically this kind of audit, this is what we do every time when we are approaching CSDM implementation. And this is a real example from one of the latest, let's say, engagements that we went through. I did anonymize the data. This is really a huge company operating in many countries, doing a different type of the business. But if you will look at the quality of foundation data, right? So company, business units, departments, location, groups. When we went through this, we were able to identify that departments, for example, and locations are duplicated. And the number of those duplicates were quite significant, right? We were able to see that there are some org structure information that do not have even the names provided into it, right? We have information about groups that were missing some crucial information, like who is a manager, or the information about members were not valid. So on one thing, it seems that this is a really easy task to be performed. But when you start to look at this type of the data, when you start to look at the quality, it often comes up that, okay, in order to provide information about services, we need to do a step back and focus on foundation data, right? The other thing that is really important is to make a decision how you would like to approach to your CSDM rollout, right? So there are two, let's say, suggested way of doing that. We can focus on applications, or we can focus on services. I'm sorry. So probably you've seen that in many places when it comes to working with specific product implementations, right? ServiceNow likes to use this phrase of or this approach of crawl, walk, run, and fly phases. But before we can, continue with the journey and move to another levels, it would be good to identify whether we will start and focus on applications or focus on services and provide this type of applications, or start to gather information about those objects at the beginning. So to do it, it's good to, or it's recommended to answer yourselves several types of questions, right? You can sit down with your enterprise architect, you can sit down with your IT people and try to answer those questions, try to understand what enterprise applications do we need to meet our organizational capabilities, right? If a specific application has an outage, how much it will cost to us, right? What's the criticality of those applications? What are the installations of, deployments of specific applications? Are we able to identify them quite easily? Are we aware of what is in our estate? Do we, or can we save the money by removing duplicate applications that perform the same service, right? Or that are supporting the same service? So, rationalizations of applications. Do we need to depreciate homegrown apps that are running on the prem environment and move it to SaaS or to PaaS? Do we have this kind of a strategy? Do we have this kind of a goals to be achieved? So answer this information and compare them to what we have on the right side, when probably the service-focused approach will be more relevant for you, right? So try to identify service owners and product owners and ask those guys this set of questions, right? Try to cover this area. So we provide a service for our sales and marketing, for example, right? What applications are deployed in IT that this service is dependent on, right? So are we able to identify what applications are responsible for a specific service? If we provide the service to our customer, if a particular application is not running, how much it will cost us, right? You would need to understand what services in general you provide. You need to track do we need to track the commitments and availability of those services, right? If we don't have a CMDB or CIs that most of our applications are web-based, right? So these applications still support services we provide to our employees or our customers or not. So, we need to tackle those areas, we need to tackle those questions and then understand what would be the most or more preferred or easier way for us to approach that kind of, let's say, decision. The other thing, and probably this is the most important thing that I wanted to share with you, is the information about defining the services, establishing our approach to create a repository of services, right? And that was really one of the most important things that we came across when CSDM implementations were rolled out by us. And it was really difficult until we get to the point that we understand that there is a nice answer, there is a nice content that we can utilize, right? If you will be thinking of defining the services and their offerings, you need to be aware of the fact that there is something what is called a TBM taxonomy, technical and business management taxonomy, which basically is a value management framework that you can access and review what are the suggestions, what are the templates that are already there, that are predefined, and potentially you can use it to define the services and offerings that you are or you are going to deliver to your users. And what I'm providing here is an example of Excels that we were building with our customers. The first one on the left corner, this is a file that we've invented like even more than 10 years ago, where we were just approaching people that we were able to identify, that were able to provide us with any type of relevant information. What are the business services? What are the technical services that you own? Are you aware? Who can tell us this information? Who can help us to let's say, identify people that own or are responsible for those services, right? So this is another Excel. This is another example of let's say this kind of an exercise or a task where we try to gather that information. With one company, it was really difficult. With the other, this kind of work was a little bit smoother, but always it was a challenge. Believe me that, I don't know, out of 10, 15 CMDB and CSDM implementations that I was involved in, gathering that type of information was really a challenge, right? And like I told you, at one point in time, we came across this TBM taxonomy, and that really changed the way the services were, let's say, described, defined, and provide to our CSDM. This is an example taken directly from TBM source. And this is an example which is an official ServiceNow white paper showing how a Canadian company implemented or provided information about services. And they are clearly stating in that white paper that those guys were struggling 2 years to identify those services and offerings. And after they came across and utilized TBM taxonomy, they were able to provide a valid setup within 2.5 weeks, right? And how that works, basically, we have a clear distinction of technical products and services and business products and services. And they are basically divided into portfolios and services, right? So you can see that, for example, we have a platform services portfolio, there is a data, application, network, compute, storage sub-portfolios, and within those sub-portfolios, we have suggested technical services, or in this green field, we have suggested business services that can be utilized by you. And the exercise that we are doing with many customers right now is basically we are providing this template during the workshops, right? And we are going point by point, trying to understand if this is something that suits you. Do you miss something? Should we add something, right? And we have this baseline, we have this suggested list repository of services, and that really changes the way you are kicking off, you are starting with defining services. Really, really helpful, and we really encourage you to review this TBM source and look for services, right? The structure, how we can connect them into or put them into portfolios. And what's even more important, on the other slide, we have also taken directly from the TBM, right? We have offerings of particular services. So again, review this if you are going to build or improve your repository of services. Look into TBM. We have a great examples of services and offerings that are ready to be utilized, right? And when it comes to approach to defining those services, you always have to follow a consistent process. You need to use standard types and patterns. I'm saying that you need to, because otherwise, when you go too much into custom approach, it really can be difficult to maintain them, right? And when you are doing this kind of exercise, communicate with your employees, communicate with your customers, communicate when you are providing or publishing services, right? So utilize those organizational change management activities to stay in touch and update people with the changes that are coming. Two additional things that I wanted to highlight is whenever you are able to utilize service mapping to provide information about application services, this is like a blessing, right? So this top part, business capabilities, business applications, you provide them in a manual way, right? But as soon as you go into application service layer, when you are able to provide that information about environments of business applications, and you are able to utilize service mapping, it will create this top-down approach and provide you with a real day information about components, right, of a specific application service. There is a question on TBM mapping effort. Is it an exclusive offering of SPOC Poland? No, this is something which is available to the public, right? So anyone can go to TBM resource page, review this. But what SPOC can offer in terms of utilizing TBM is the experience and again, lessons learned with implementations for many customers when we just, utilize this in many occasions, and we are kind of prepared with, let's say, scenarios of utilizing that kind of information when we are defining services, right? And the other question is, does TBM mapping is a part of CMDB configuration? It can be, yes. That may be a really nice prerequisite before you go into CSDM, but basically services are with offerings. You are covering offerings in most of the cases when you approach CSDM, so that's kind of a floating answer. But yeah, in general, depending on specific scenario, right? You can use it from the very beginning, or you can use it directly when you are deploying CSDM. So service mapping, guys, please remember or check how that can help you when you are when you will approach, let's say, providing information about the construction of your application services. And the last thing that I wanted to highlight is we need to make sure that there is an ownership and support, right, of our initiative, because quite often that's the second most important thing and most challenging point, right, when we are doing CSDM implementations, to define those services correctly and to find out and be able to identify who owns, who will support, and who is responsible basically for specific group of services. And what really works and provides a lot of benefit and value to those owners, we have some great capabilities, tools that those people can use. For example, Service Builder and Digital Portfolio Workbench, right? So when you will approach defining or the process of service definitions, identify who is a technical owner, identify who is a service owner, and introduce them into a Service Builder functionality, introduce them into a Service Builder application, right, which will kind of navigate, which will go through every step that is important to and relevant to create a service. So basically, that really supports and make service owners' life way easier when it comes to defining and maintaining services. The other example of the tool that you can use when it comes to supporting people that work with this on a day-to-day basis is the Digital Portfolio Workbench, where we have really holistic view of what's going on when it comes to our services, right? And again, those two are available whenever you need to use them. These are the plugins that are activated with no additional costs and really helps out and bring a lot of value. Guys, so that was the those 5 points that I wanted to highlight with you. Whenever you will have any additional things, just please reach us out through the LinkedIn. And that's it for today. And yeah, let's see. And I'm looking forward for a next episode when we will cover strategic portfolio management applications. So what are the ServiceNow projects, platform, projects, program, and financial, let's say, capabilities to help managing this type of information and projects in the platform. So strategic portfolio management, formerly PPM, is the next episode of our CoffeeNOW sessions. Thank you for today, and have a good day. Bye-bye.